Hey guys, so today I'm going to attempt to give you a lesson for something that really helped me a lot in life, and that was something that I learned in the late 80s or possibly early 90s, and that's through PNL, Neuro Linguistic Programming, and it was really cool. It was a course that I bought from Anthony Robbins. You guys have probably heard of him. And you're probably thinking, what has this got to do with martial arts? Well, it does. It's got to do with a lot of different fields that you might be specialized in. And it really helped me out. So I've tried to tell this story to more than one student, and a lot of the people that I've taught who really have had problems confronting deep-rooted fear or maybe traumatic experiences. I've tried, and I think maybe only a couple of guys have ever listened to me. So I hope you listen, and if you do have any like deep-rooted traumatic experiences and you can't and you feel blocked, maybe this might help you. So I know it helped me out a lot. So when I bought this course, I listened to it quite deeply, and it really affected me a lot because elements of this course was talking about how emotions or emotional experiences like define our actions. And he gave some really powerful examples, right? And the example that always stuck in my mind was one in particular, how this one guy, he had this had this really deep, loving relationship with his father, and at the same time he was a very successful businessman. And anyway, he was, a millionaire, and but apart from being a millionaire, he had a really great relationship with his father, and his father had suddenly passed away. He didn't expect it, and organising the funeral arrangements, he was off the planet and deeply depressed, really distressed. He was traumatized by the fact that his father died, and at the funeral, I don't know, so many people arrived, like over 500 people, and he was there, completely out of it. And the proceedings of the funeral was that people would come and basically throw flowers into the funeral, into the grave, and come up to him, and they would pat him on the shoulder, and then give him a handshake, right, and then give condolences, and then walk off. And next guy or next couple would come along, throw the flowers, pat his shoulder, give him a handshake, and so on and so on. It's like 500-600 people were doing the same thing, and this guy's absorbing all this. And so you can imagine the whole day doing this, before they finally proceed with final funeral. And so what happened was, cutting a long story short, was that after 2-3 years, when he would conduct business affairs, or he'd meet up with somebody and he'd go, give a handshake. When you go give a handshake and the guy would come up and say, how you doing, pat his shoulder and give him a handshake, he couldn't work out why, puff, all of a sudden he'd go into a deep depression. It didn't ever connect to him why this was happening, And, unfortunately, he was consulted by Anthony Robbins. And so they were able to work out these patterns, and connect it back to the funeral. And so anyway, they were able to work out a solution as to how to resolve the issue. And so, I was able to work out a pattern for, even though in a previous video I've talked about how boxing increased my self-confidence and stuff like this and that and that, I worked out something that had also helped me out, in security, because then, I had other fears, that really worried me. It's like one of my deepest fears was facing a monster of a man, like, twice as big as me, huge, and coming at me, and it's like, what would I do if he's coming at full force at me? And it's like, I feel terrified by this notion. I really feel blocked by this notion. I know it sounds crazy, but I really felt like, hey man, it's like I had this fear of failing and looking stupid and looking like a dickhead. It's like, hey man, especially when after a few years, when I finally got offers to work on my own at the door, I said, man, I don't want to look like an idiot. It's like take a risk and do the door and then look like a complete wanker. You know what I'm saying? So, there's just no way I wanted to fail that type of mission. So, so early on in the piece, I said, right, I want to confront this. I want to overcome this. So I needed to overcome this mentally. Apart from the fact that there are other things that help me, like, for example, before I get to the Tony Robbins ones, there's a book by one of my Sigel Canspect on single combat, where it's actually good advice, where he teaches you to visualize you beating the person, or you visualize the defeat of the person in front of you before you even start the combat. And you have this powerful visualization of defeating a person before you actually start, fighting a person. And having a powerful visualization of this actually helps you. That's a very good concept as well. Putting a brief explanation of something that I read in this book on single combat. That's actually pretty good advice. But this thing here with Neuro Linguistic programming is even more powerful, because what it teaches you is this, and I'll tell you how it was done. What it teaches you is to do a meditation, and the way I did it was I put myself in my gymnasium. First I did it mentally without the gym, and what I would do is I'd light up a candle and I'd mentally visualize, start meditating and visualizing the scenario that really made me fear. I visualized this, my worst enemy, right? And what Tony Robbins teaches you is that what you need to do before you start meditating is you've got to create a general, like a commander, a general. And he's the person that you have to obey. All right, you have to obey. It's like a military command, right? You have to obey the general no matter what happens, right? So you're like in a regiment, you're in the army. You have to obey the general no matter what he says, and that's it. You have to do what you're told, and that's it. I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but it's the program that he teaches you to do, right? You have to obey the general no matter what. And if you don't do this program, there's no point doing it, or else you don't get the result you want. So you have to believe that there's a general inside your head, right? Obviously the general is you, but you've got to create a general. It's like you have to give responsibility to the general, and you have to obey to this general. Okay, so that's the game. And you have to do what he says. When he says you got to do something, you got to do something no matter what. Okay, all right. So you create the general, and what you do is this. So if your normal reaction is, right, that if your past reaction was this, that when you get into a certain state of fear, you shy away, or you block, or you cringe, or you run away. If that was being your normal reaction, for example, if I see a huge guy that's massive and it's like, and my normal reaction is, oh shit, I'm starting to shit myself. If that's my normal reaction, and you want to change that, well then you have to do this program, right? So one, you got to create the general. Okay. Secondly, how do you create that same fear? Well, you have to meditate, and you have to get yourself in a room so no one busts your balls. You can't have distractions, right? You can't have, your wife hassling you. You got to be on your own, or else it doesn't work. You really have to be on your own. Either that, or you're really good at meditating and you can do it by just, with full of distractions, right? So you can't have distractions. So what you have to do is you have to visualize and meditate and visualize the situation. You've got to create this enemy. You have to visualize and create this enemy. And you have to get your emotional state to that level where you really feel and you really believe that you're living that emotional state of fear. So you have to feel it, and you have to feel it in your body. You have to believe it and you have to feel it in your body. So you have to get that emotional state really at 150% level in your body until the whole body is feeling it. If you don't feel it, you're not playing the game properly, right? Now, when you get it at 100%, 150% in your body, at that moment there, right, normally what happens, normally your body does the old reaction. Normally your body goes into cringe, or you retract, you retreat, right? Okay, so what you have to do when you're at 150%, right, you have to get the general to give you a new command. So the general will tell you, attack. You create the new reaction that you want to do. You have to create the new reaction that you want to do. So the general will tell you what you need to do. You create the new attack. When the general tells you to attack, you have to physically do the motions. So you physically have to attack. You have to physically do that motion when the general tells you to do it. So you do it. And you physically do an outlash of attacks. Now, the first time you do it in the air, all right? And like I said, you do it with a candle, so you got no visual distractions. It's just you and the candle, right? And you got no visual distractions. Obviously, make sure you got space and stuff like that. Exert all your energy and just let out all these attacks. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be punching, kicking, elbow strikes, knee strike. Let it all out for about 20 seconds at full concentrated speed, right? Go back to your starting point and start again. Do it again. Get your levels up high again and release again. And then, get your levels up again, get it to that 100% belief, 150%, until you fully believe that you've got that fear level up again. Get that worst enemy in front of you, create that new command, and then release and do it again. Now, I did it for about 3 or 4 months. Right? Now, I'll tell you what, you don't have to believe me, but it worked so fucking well that I created fucking havoc. Like, seriously, it worked too fucking well. Right? That I had to create another command to calm myself down, right? So it worked too well. So you need to trust me on this. So you need to balance it out. So, I'm serious. It worked well. I was shocked. I wouldn't be wasting my time making this video telling you this stuff, right? I mean, maybe I'm a mental case, probably need psychological care or something, but it worked really well on me. And so, full credits to Anthony Robbins. So that's the trick. Your emotions, right, defines your physical characteristics, the way you react as well. And so, you need to get your emotions to a certain level, and you need to create a mental command to change your emotions or your physical motions to do another action. So that's the only way you can. Well, at least in my ignorant point of view, because I'm not like a psychiatrist or anything, but I can say that it really did work. And I used it for other stuff as well. So, I thought it was pretty amazing. And to this day, it's still, I know it works for me. It's seriously, look, there were times that, there were situations on the street where I was working, and I came across guys that I was shit scared of. They were huge, and I thought, this is it. I'm gonna get laid out. You know, I'm really gonna get it tonight. Like, this guy's gonna fuck me up. And I took off. Right, it's like I took off, and I won the fight, and I thought, fuck. I didn't think I was going to make it, and yet, you know, I was standing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, maybe it was luck. I don't know what to say, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm not the type of guy who bullshit about these things. So, the sort of commands that the mind, you know, if you teach the mind to sort of help you out, you know, the mind can help the emotions. That's probably the clue. That's probably the trick, rather, you know. So, PNL, you know, it's worth studying. I'm not saying go buy Anthony Robbins courses. I don't know, because they're pretty expensive. But in the late 80s, 90s, they were affordable, and it really, really did. It really helped me out. I listened to his courses. You can get them for cheap. I think you can get them for free on YouTube anyway. So. All right, so any questions, you know, just ask me. I'm happy to give you some advice. If you like my channel, subscribe and press the like button. If not, take a hike. See ya.